the Big 12.
Absolutely. I think you look for that bye week, right, as an ideal strategy time to be in the middle of the season, maybe time for recovery. TCU kind of drew the straw that they got it first. So they've had a chance to watch Baylor, watch a little bit of film and figure out what their lineup is, what that looks like. Maybe an opportunity Baylor hasn't had yet. So definitely a benefit to having the bye and also maybe a deficit.
The last time those Baylor Bears took the court in competition here at the Farrell Center, they were punching their first ever ticket to the national semifinals.
Strange being here for that game, and now when we see the 700-person capacity, definitely a different vibe. But I got to tell you, Lincoln, there's something about the excitement that just having these student athletes back on the court, playing the game they love, it's exciting. There's an energy in here, even though the fans might not be packed like we're used to.
Just a few changes with NCAA rules this year and policy. Horned Frogs today will be on the left side of the net for every set. And just in case there's an advantage with regards to which direction the air conditioning vents are blowing, tomorrow is when they will switch to the opposite side of the nets.
Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of what is healthiest for these student athletes to keep them safe. And it'll be interesting. I think it's definitely something where certain facilities have a side you'd prefer to have, but that rule that you switch the next night definitely keeps it fair for both teams.
Kate Georgiana is out of College Station looking to kick off her collegiate career with the opening serve against number 2 Baylor. And it's a young woman who's come a long way since redshirting her first year in Waco. Marika Vandermark with the first point here inside the Farrell Center. What a breakout campaign a year ago to help them make that deep run in the national tournament.
Marika Vandermark, what a blast to watch. Even early on when she redshirted, when she's had injuries, things of that nature. Just so much energy and fun to watch her so successful now.
Won't take long for TCU to bounce back. We'll see Sarah Swanson join them up at the net, the middle blocker out of Nebraska. Back to serve their libero this year, Danny Dennison. That mismatched top was passed around a lot last year for the Horned Frogs before Dennison finally wrestled it away from some of her teammates with her defensive play.
It was. I think it's interesting to see when a team is able to switch liberos so much. Some people might see that as, oh, are we changing the consistency? But how cool to have so many players you feel can lead the back row.
Dennison played all 89 matches last year. All 89 sets last year. Final 9 matches as your libero, as Baylor will pull this second point back, level it up at 2-2. Her name is Yasiana Presley.
Yasiana Presley. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that, not only tonight, but this season. You said it, she's back as a senior. How exciting just to watch her smack that ball cross court.
And into the tape, the error from Swanson will gift wrap one over for the Bears as Baylor inches ahead 3-2.
Swanson trying to hit the shoot there. It looks like the set might have been a little bit low for her, but like you said, there are kinks at the beginning of the season, and this is a great time to be working on those.
Baylor prevailed both in Fort Worth last year and here in Waco against TCU. Baylor leads the all-time series 17-7. Most importantly, they've won the last 6 meetings of the previous 3 years. Horned Frogs looking for what would be just their 3rd victory here in Waco. As the service continues for Emily Van Slate, the sophomore. And flat-footed return. And just unable to get the pancake under there for the dig. A nice effort from Mackenzie Nichols, but it's Baylor now stretching the lead with the run of service from Van Slate.
Callie Williams, in her redshirt junior season, transferred from Tennessee and sat out last year. Daughter of associate head coach Jason Williams, and so fun to watch her just lead the court and be such a dynamic setter on that one.
Yeah, clearly gets all of her volleyball genes from Coach Jason Williams.
Clearly only Jason.
We'll have a little more on that later on here. TCU gets that elusive 3rd point. This is Berkeley Baker, your senior out of Dallas. And remember, when we say senior, that doesn't mean it's their final year necessarily to suit up for these teams. Depends on what their future plans are, but the NCAA has gifted this as a free year of eligibility for anybody who feels comfortable competing. A nice point building until a little miscommunication, and it'll benefit the Baylor Bears.
Danny Dennison doing everything right, putting her hands in front of her face and tomahawking that ball. Just didn't quite finish for him.
So Presley, everybody knows what she can do offensively, but still continues to fight to improve as a defensive player, allowing her to stay on that back row.
Yeah, I think when you see someone who is the National Player of the Year and not even a senior, you kind of, even as a coach, have to start saying, what is the sky the limit with this kid? Have they not reached that? But cool to see that Yassiana Presley is still coaching herself defensively and growing in that regard, if she even can.
McGee off the mark. The error will give the point over to TCU. And the service again here for Julia Adams. Last year, all-rookie team in the Big 12. From the Dallas area, from Plano High. And defense prevails up front for the Baylor Bears, and it's Kara McGee.
Kara McGee, standout freshman season last year. We're going to get to look at that block again, I think. But so cool to see her just leading the middle. It's so awesome to have a dynamic little blocker for Baylor.
Yeah, she was on an island, but comes up with that stop. She will be asked to try to fill the shoes of Shelly Stafford.
Tough to do, tough to do.
From the left pin, able to tap it back over, but there is Van Slate in plenty of time. Presley looking for space. Plenty of options. This time they'll go to the left pin. That's where Lauren Harrison, one of the newest Bears here in Waco, the transfer from Chapel Hill, former Tar Heel, with the kill.
Callie Williams doing a great job of getting that tempo fast out to Lauren, and she just sees the block so well. We had her saw her have so much success with that at Kansas last weekend.
Baylor can't take advantage of the overpass. Another one. Fool me once, fool me twice. You know how it plays out. It's Lauren Harrison at the net. And that'll prompt the first timeout from Jill Kramer. Her Horned Frogs have slipped behind here on the road against number 2 Baylor. 9-4 here in the midst of set number 1. New year. Just about every NCAA tournament has been reduced by 25%, so just 48 teams. That means fewer at-larges. And you may not recall, but Baylor last year, although they were the number 1 national seed, they actually got in as the number 1 national seed as an at-large team. Texas had the tiebreaker out of the Big 12, the co-champions in the Big 12, with that automatic bid.
Definitely exciting that a championship is still happening. I know there's been so much uncertainty and so many logistical changes, so it's exciting that the teams can have that on a calendar as something to look forward to at this point.
We're coming out of that last time out called by TCU, and more miscommunication on the Horned Frogs side of the net. Well, if you are not going to have your all-everything setter Hannah Sedgwick available at the start of the season, Callie Williams is a pretty darn good option to take her spot. Williams transferred late from Tennessee last year, so she was not eligible to play in last season's run. But Callie Williams certainly was a big part in the gym during practices, would run the essentially opposing team's offense on the other side of the net, which made her teammates better and arguably contributed to that run.
Yeah, Callie understands the offense. I think Coach McGuire says it best when he just says how smart of a player she is, and she plays like a coach's kid. She's smart. She knows the game. And it's been such an asset for Baylor, whether she's on the starting side or on the opposite side.
Clark goes into the double block of the Bears. Point back over to Baylor. Their advantage back up by 5, and there'll be a chance to bring Campbell Bowden back on the floor. Campbell did not make her Baylor debut in Lawrence, did not travel for last weekend's openers. So instead, the redshirt freshman out of El Paso will take her complimentary dribbles here to serve. They are excited about what Campbell will add to this talented Baylor group. The Horned Frogs doing a nice job. Another side out, winning the point. Back within 4.
That was Katie Clark. We got to see there with a strong wrist away shot down the line. Talking to Jill Kramer earlier this week, what she was most excited about in Katie Clark was just how versatile she was. We've seen her hit on the outside, in the middle, and the right side already this game, something a lot of players cannot do.
We'll have more on that in just a moment. Meanwhile, Marika Vandermark able to put an end to the service for TCU. And we're back to your new libero this year for Baylor with Chanel Bramschreiber, former high school All-American. And TCU just off the mark with that pass. And even before the error, it looked like we had a net violation.
Maybe so. Again, we talk about these kinks, and setting is something where it's so different in a game than it is in practice. So working through that, finding out where your hitters are going to be is just part of it.
A confident swing from Min Young. Sophomore out of Fort Worth, getting to play her college ball in her own backyard. She was number 2 among Big 12 freshmen last year in blocks, dominating the net defensively. They'll go away from her this time. Back over to that left pin and able to put it away, Julia Adams. Adams was last year's, again, one of 3 standout freshmen that each recorded Big 12 Rookie of the Week honors. Last year's class, easily TCU's top recruiting class in Jill Kramer's time at the helm. A big part of that was sheer numbers, the volume. And Young able to poke it back over. But the dump from Williams.
Callie Williams with her second dump already tonight as we stay here in the first set. I think anytime your setter is hitting 1,000, you're doing pretty good. So good for Callie Williams.
Baylor's about to get 11 inches shorter on the floor as Marika Vandermark comes off in place of Emily Van Slate to serve. Both Emily's mom and sister, Baylor graduates. They love her on that back line with her serve and her ability to defend as well. Horned Frogs looking to get into double digits here in this opening frame, and they'll do so. They pull back within 4. TCU last year competing in the NIVC, making it to the semifinals over in Atlanta before ultimately falling against Georgia Tech. But they had pushed back their spring ball because they were welcoming in a new coaching staff after spring break. And, of course, then a pandemic came along, which you may have heard of. And as a result, TCU missed out on 30 days together. That means the Horned Frogs didn't get a chance to work with their coaching staff until this fall for a first time.
Absolutely. There's never ever a good time for a pandemic, but I think the way this volleyball season landed with not getting to have those crucial couple months of spring competition, it just made it where it was a long break before these girls could get back on the court.
Battle at the net, and ultimately it'll fall in favor of Baylor. Again, Baylor last year undefeated at home. Their only loss during the regular season was in Austin. Of course, this year on the schedule, they'll go to Austin to play both matches against Texas. Times in its history with a triple-double, 19 of those belong to Corey Williams. Only 2 quadruple doubles, both of them belong to Ms. Williams.
Unbelievable.
Her sister had a couple of the triple doubles as well.
Incredible bloodline. Callie is lucky.
So TCU within 5. This opening set certainly not out of reach. As the serve from Julia Adams. And it's Baylor back on track. They'll get the touch. Lauren Harrison again. As much talent as Baylor returned this year for Coach Ryan McGuire, a lot of newcomers waiting in the wings to shine as well.
A good look at it again. That makes 3 kills on only 4 attempts for Lauren Harrison. She's hitting .750. Just incredible numbers for an outside hitter, and what an asset for Baylor she is this season.
A.J. Cooley will come on up front in place of Cassie Davis. And here's McGee to serve. Last year was both second team all-conference and all-rookie team. Instant transition to the college game. Van Slate keeps it playable. And the punctuation courtesy of that right arm of Lauren Harrison.
We've seen Lauren Harrison get a lot of different kills already. She's gone straight over the block, and cool to see her versatility there as she tooled the block for that kill.
She's probably somebody who really missed out on having the spring with her new teammates, but a little bit of an adjustment against Kansas, but boy, did 24 hours under her belt make a difference in that second match against the Jayhawks.
Yes, it is crazy to see how the strategy will change for this season, Lincoln, just in the sense of you're playing tonight, we're coming right back here tomorrow night, 24 hours later, to watch these same two teams face off. So quick adjustments. Hopefully everyone can recover quickly. This season is different, and it's fun to watch.
Sarah Swanson serve, and more of the same down the line from Harrison. The pride of Stone Mountain, Georgia. And it was Harrison, not Presley, who led Baylor in kills last weekend against the Jayhawks.
Great setup here for Baylor, having two strong outsides, right? Because you can only move your block to one person so much. So to have them in the front row and back row at all times, such a lethal weapon.
An ace for Williams. We'll give Dad credit for that.
Jason does head up the serving coaching for the Baylor team, and it is awesome at the floor serve, so we can give him that.
Callie Williams, a redshirt junior. Could have as many as 2 more seasons with Baylor. And that ball off the pin will give Baylor the next point. And all of a sudden, the Bears are getting close to closing out their first set here at home. Minimal margin of error for Baylor when it comes to the win-loss column after losing that opener against the Jayhawks. Meanwhile, Texas already 3 matches under their belts, including last night. Longhorns will be back in action in their new temporary home of the Irwin Center later on tonight. Of course, TCU will play their home matches this year inside the basketball arena, Schollmeyer. Presley gets them back on track. It's Vandermark who will send it over. And on the opposite pin, confident swing as Katie Clark will drive it home. Yeah, you were talking about Jill Kramer, how fortunate she felt to have a player like Katie Clark. You don't want a pandemic, but if you were to design a player for a pandemic who on one night might play one role because you're down a player, or another night another, she can go outside or inside at the net for you.
For sure, definitely a new meaning to the word utility player.
Access denied by Mignon. Alfredo Mignon owning that end of the net that time, as the Horned Frogs not willing to say farewell to this opening set just yet. Here's the service from Mackenzie Nichols. Took over exactly 1 year ago, October 2nd, in a match against Texas, the primary setting role for the Horned Frogs. There were a lot of jobs up for grabs last year for the women in purple and black. The Cup wrap-up, of course, we're in the midst of the NBA Finals. Fall sports in college well underway. Technically, fall sports will still be underway in the spring as well.
Fall sports are forever from here on out.
If you are a sports information director, you are in our thoughts, because chances are you have a fall sport and a spring sport that you are constantly helping needy broadcasters with, and how you are going to manage your time during that spring. Good luck.
Yeah, if dealing with people like me and Lincoln, I think every SID deserves a free cup of coffee once a week.
As long as the NCAA approves.
Absolutely, for sure.
Horned Frogs, again, a chance to battle back here in this opening frame. They did not have the benefit. They were the odd team out. 9 teams competing in volleyball in the Big 12 each year. Oklahoma State, the one member without the program. Vandermark. Nobody has been better designed to play on that right pin than the southpaw.
She truly is the perfect right side hitter standing at about 6'5" and left-handed. You said it. The southpaw is such an asset over there. So hard to block. And we said it before, Lincoln, but she has just grown so many ways. I mean, she was such a go-to for Baylor in their Final Four run last year, and still getting better with a lot of eligibility left.
Service run will quickly come to an end for Baylor as TCU can't continue to just trade points. Need to get a run from the service line going here from Dennison. Serve from the Californian. Vandermark, little deja vu. Now we will mention that perhaps the president of the Marika Vandermark fan club is on the opposite bench, and Jill Kramer. Jill's husband, William, is Dutch, so she loves to keep track of those who have made their way overseas here to compete in the college game.
Yes, absolutely. So fun when the other team's coach is your biggest fan. She said that in our interviews this week, and we absolutely loved it.
Mignon able to split the double block and find space on the back row. It is still set point here in rally scoring for Baylor.
Fatal Mignon really coming alive with her third kill there. Led the team in blocks last year, but coaching staff for TCU super excited about her upside this season and just the growth in the area of her swings.
Baker with the serve. Again, no room for error for TCU. Yassiana Presley will capture the opening set here in front of the home crowd in Waco. So 25-19, one set down, perhaps two to go. The Bears, her first year out of El Paso's Coronado High School. I mentioned she's making her Baylor debut after not traveling to Lawrence, where the Bears split their opening weekend against the Jayhawks. But Baylor responded to that 5-set loss on the road last Friday with a impressive Baylor-esque sweep on Saturday.
Just goes to show that there is value, right, in seeing how that first game goes, making the changes you need to make, and Baylor did an incredible job of looking at what they could have done better on Friday night and turning it around and playing clean volleyball Saturday night.
Well, a free ball for the Bears, but TCU will not be made to pay. The error off the block as Presley able to tool it.
Talking to Coach about Yassiana Presley earlier this week and just what her vertical is like, and almost that sometimes when you block and you have a vertical like that, you have to think about how much of your how much of your jump you really need to use. So that one kind of just got stuck between her and the net, and likely because she jumped too high. I can assure you that was never said about me.
First 3 points have gone the way of the Bears, including the ace for Campbell Bounded a moment ago. It's been her serve the entire way up until now. As getting tired of that routine was Michaela Myers, the sophomore transfer out of Washington State. She's one of a couple of daughters of former NFL players on this TCU squad.
Michaela Myers' first kill of the night, but done with a lot of style. I mean, well in front of that 10-foot line. She hit the ball straight down.
Her dad, Michael, played for Alabama and then moved on to the NFL. And Mignon is as generous as you will see some of the playable surfaces in college volleyball this fall, with some of the scores tables pushed back, ran out of space there.
One of the things Ryan McGuire was excited about, right? You don't like when your facility changes, you don't like when things are different, but he was excited that the surfaces would be wider and maybe he could have his girls run down more balls than used to be playable.
Mentioned TCU is going to have some new sight lines to get used to when they head home to Fort Worth, one of 3 Big 12 volleyball programs moving out of their snug confines of volleyball-specific gyms as you take another look at the effort. But TCU has pulled back within a pair.
Yeah, seeing the layout of the Scholmeyer, this is actually probably a pretty good trial run for them to give them a little bit of what it'll feel like being in a bigger gym.
I think my favorite part about tonight's match is, for this past 6 months, we haven't seen a lot of smiles when interacting with people. But plenty of joy on both sides of the net, including TCU now battling back to level this second frame at 4. So again, a slight adjustment here in the Farrell Center, your typical home for Baylor. regardless of whether or not there's a global pandemic. Bramschreiber over to Vandermark.
Bit of a scramble on the Baylor side, but they're recovering quickly.
Presley, and nice job getting underneath it from Georgiana's. Minyong into the block of Presley. Yassiana calling for it. Dials it down. Through the tape, and Bramschreiber just can't keep it alive as Julia Adams will secure the point for TCU and the advantage.
Julia Adams on that all-rookie team last year, and a player that the TCU staff is really excited about. I think as she steps into her sophomore year, getting a lot more sets.
A quick snap of the wrist from McGee, but the Horned Frogs with the return. There's Bramschreiber, again, your new libero for good reason this year. They don't just love her defense, they love her passing. They want her out there on the floor as much as possible. A little dump from Williams, unable to catch TCU off guard, and again, the Horned Frogs, unintimidated, matched up against the number 2 team in the nation, now up by 2 here in this second front.
Fado Minyong, again, her 5th kill of the night, really coming alive on those right side swings.
A year ago, 6 blocks against Oklahoma, 5 blocks against Tech, but not just a defender at that net. Though she'll match up against Presley here.
Great dig by Danny Dennison, taking that heat cross court.
Bramschreiber, right place, right time. Horned Frogs stay organized. This from Adams, into the net.
Just a little bit off the net. I think that's one of the hardest swings as an outside hitter when the set is further behind the 10-foot line than you're comfortable with.
Would like to have that one over. Well, it's a slightly less hostile environment than usual here in Waco. Last year, the team continued to set one attendance record after another. It maxed out a little over 7,300 fans against Texas in that clash for the Big 12 title essentially last year. Baylor this season is going to welcome right around 700 fans, allow them to spread out throughout the arena.
There's a curtain in the Farrell Center that typically is dropped to give volleyball a little more of an intimate feel so that they can fill the Farrell Center a little bit more. You'll see here today that the curtain is raised to allow that no fans are being turned away.
Over from the right side. We're able to keep this one alive for Adams.
Yassiana Presley sniffing that out very well.
All 5 feet 9 inches of Callie Williams able to elevate and drop that one over the net.
Good look again there. Callie Williams with her 3rd dump of the night. Super aggressive. It's awesome when she rotates to the front row because you don't know if she's going to set someone or attack it herself.
And a moment later, the service error will give TCU the 7-7 tie here in this second frame after Baylor took the opening set.
Number 10, Berkeley Baker.
Berkeley Baker, we talked about her before, spent some time in the libero jersey last year, and still such a go-to consistent player on that back line for TCU.
Yeah, she had finished her sophomore year 2 years ago as your starter at libero. Overall 50 matches wearing the mismatched top. Played every set on the floor last year. But we'll see the service come to an end here.
A good look there at Baylor's Volt jerseys. It's a new color they're wearing this year. Very fun, something the girls are really excited about, and it looks good too.
Solar powered for clean energy, right?
That is exactly what they're going for, I'm sure.
Might be able to help land some planes at Waco International down the road as well. As Julia Adams will pick up the service. TCU again pulls even. Can they get back over the hump? They've led by as many as 2. And a confident swing, just a tad strong off the right hand of Harrison.
Just out there, saw what Lauren Harrison was going for. She saw a hole in the block and was able to turn it down that line, but just a little bit deep for her.
Julia Adams, last year not a factor, only played 2 sets in those 2 matches against Baylor. They're going to see a big dose of her tonight and tomorrow.
Adams had a lot of success in that NIVC tournament, and something Jill Kramer is talking about is, does she have a young team? Yes, but the experience that their team got going so deep in that tournament last year makes it feel like she doesn't have a lot of sophomores out here.
Well, remember TCU last year had their all-everything sophomore Elon McCall returning, but banged up and really had McCall miss a lot of last year's season. Heck, Elon even was libero in one of those matches in Fort Worth against Baylor along the way. Elon, back in January, transferred over to UCLA, so that was another position that had to be filled this year for TCU. But because Elon had been out a lot of last year, several of these freshmen, now sophomores, had a chance to step up.
Yeah, I think the way that they structured their offense with Elon being so dominant is she got such a high percentage of the sets that sometimes you have these stellar players that, because of a player like that, don't get as many opportunities. And now that we're getting to see them swing, we're seeing exactly what they can do.
Swanson produces that first ace for the Horned Frogs. And able to get the touch, squeezes it inside the pin, does Lauren Harrison.
Powers it through there with her 6th kill tonight, hitting .556. So to put it in perspective for people who don't care as much about numbers as I do, hitting 300 as an outside hitter would be elite. She's at .556, so almost doubling what is an elite outside hitter, and we're in the second set already.
I'm just happy for you. You don't have to keep track of chicken or fish.
Yes, that was a fun experience we always talked about last year.
The former Katie Stager, now Katie Smith. And again, Baylor, another block up front. Lauren Harrison getting in on the act. We are level here, just about midway through the second frame at 11.
Tough serve by Callie Williams, kind of resulting in a TCU scramble.
Ultimately off the mark. This has been a good showing, though, so far from TCU. When you talk about a team that had to sit back patiently last weekend. But, boy, Jill Kramer had a lot of praise for the mindset of her team for the past 6 months, really. And that is, they view every day as an opportunity, whether it was during the spring, the summer, now the fall. And I feel sorry if you had a TCU Horned Frog living in your apartment complex on the floor above you. You probably heard a lot of jump roping. They were doing the best they could, every creative way to stay in shape.
Yeah, Jill Kramer's perspective on the season of quarantine for her girls was really awesome. She just talked about how they found new ways to communicate, whether it be over the phone, whether it be FaceTiming to work out together, things like that. So cool to see that even while the girls were staying at home, they were able to grow as a team.
So service here for Mackenzie Nichols, former Dragon at South Lake Carroll High School, where she was an All-American a couple years back. She has a beach volleyball background, one of a couple of Horned Frogs with extensive experience in the sand. Of course, beach volleyball, one of the spring sports that unable to compete last year.
Yeah, it definitely changes their season. Hopefully this spring they'll be able to compete, but it'll be interesting to see what that looks like when there's a fall championship and spring sand volleyball going on at the same time.
Now serving for the Bears, number 11, Campbell Brown.
And we're back to the person that was constantly referred to us as Campbell Soup on the phone call.
I love that nickname. So good. No, Campbell is wonderful. Comes from an incredible family. The Bowdens are great, always here supporting, and fun to watch her get to play this year so much.
No non-perishable nicknames for Katie Clark, but she's able to put that one away off the block of Baylor. And a serve from Georgiadis. And How good of a program have you built that you don't go out and recruit Lachey Harper from UCF? Instead, she's the one knocking on your door to the grad transfer from that program with the Knights over in Orlando. Lachey Harper helps come on, gives Baylor 15 points. They're up by 1. It sends us to our first official timeout of set number 2. And after this volleyball match, we'll be able to tune in and progress the soccer match on the other side of the parking lot between Paul Jobson's soccer program against Colin Carmichael's Oklahoma State.
Off the head of one of the players and set back onto the court by one of the cheerleaders.
Now serve for TCU number 7, Annie Dennis.
This will be a weird stretch during the pandemic where fans are a little less eager to reach out for foul balls and baseball and rogue volleyballs.
For sure. I just think she batted that one with her pom-pom.
Might have been a double clutch. Presley. Yassiana Presley doesn't care how many players you're stacking up at the net. She's going to play her game.
Absolutely. I think it's important to look at a player like Yassiana Presley and realize that she's the one at the top of everyone's scouting report. Her name's highlighted, she is circled, there's a big star, and she still is able to get these kills, right? She has 7 kills on 14 attempts, hitting 500 right now. Extremely efficient.
Mignon, right back at you.
Point TCU.
Again, just a sophomore, but was already making an impact a year ago.
TCU number 10.
Definitely not playing like a sophomore, as she just made her 8th kill on only 10 attempts.
A serve back to Baker. Chance to tie things up here. Graham Schreiber. She'll pick up the assist over to Presley. We mentioned not just valuable wearing that libero top as a defender, but they love her hands. She can go out there and set for you to help you stay in system.
Definitely makes it where you have your outside hitters having a full swing even when the ball, even if it's coming off a big hit.
Presley into the net that time.
Point TCU.
And the Horned Frogs will pull back within 1. They'll set up the serve for Julia Adams.
Coming off that first set, Jill Kramer really has her team locked into the second set. Not sure any huge personnel changes were made, but definitely looking different in the second set.
Yassiana Presley.
Now serving for your Bears, 17, Kara McGee.
Right down Broadway.
Yassiana Presley hitting out of the back row might be one of my favorite things to watch because you might as well think that she's sitting 1 foot from the net.
Block up front, nice recovery by the Horned Frogs. Now the battle in the middle. Off some fingertips that time.
Good scramble by TCU.
See if they go back to Harrison, they do at the left pin. But a little too aggressive. Baylor's desperate for a touch, but they are not going to get that call.
Definitely had the right idea. I don't think the ball changed direction. Maybe something you'd want to use a challenge on, but also maybe not.
Yeah, no challenges have been used so far. The challenge policy is similar to years past. You get 3 to use for the first 4 sets. The 5th set would give you an extra challenge, but the scope of what our officials can look at during those reviews has been expanded a bit. Presley into the block that time. And the Horned Frogs defense prevails.
Starting for the Bears, number 1, Callie Williams.
I think our eyes may have deceived us there. I think Yassiana Presley got through that block and it actually fell just on the other side of the net.
Yeah, forgive me.
No, she's crafty like that.
Who am I to question the queen?
So true. We should have known we were wrong.
Williams with the serve. Over that left pin. And that ball's off the antenna. This is going to be Baylor's point. They haven't seen the call from the line judge. And since they let it play on, they are going to allow a little discussion here. I believe it was Katie Clark there on the left side. they determined was not able to squeeze it in, and that is going to prevail. Certainly appreciate all of our officials.
Those types of calls.
Excited to see some familiar faces, or at least half of some familiar faces in blue. Well, Joe Kramer's women on the road here in Waco right now, trailing by 3, and though not technically a must-win set number 2, probably feels like it. Ryan McGuire over the years is perfect as the head coach at Baylor when they've won the first 2 sets. Throwing, if that becomes the 91st NCAA championship. He built an axe target during the pandemic, one of the many new skills that he learned.
So many at-home projects for Ryan McGuire. I remember one day walking into Home Depot, and I kid you not, he had bought on a cart all of the wood planks left for whatever size he needed, so he had to come back the next day to finish his at-home project.
To be clear, he was not throwing axes inside the aforementioned Home Depot.
No, there was none of that.
Baylor 3 points away from potentially going up 2-0 here. Some fingertips up front, able to keep this ball playable for the Bears. As it's back over to Harrison, and no recovery for TCU. Baylor now just needs 2. Jill Kramer is going to use her final timeout of the set, 23-18. So if you're Ryan McGuire, you certainly weren't losing sleep by looking at film these past couple of weekends because, of course, the season opener against Kansas, that was the first match for KU. TCU didn't play last weekend, so you just had to kind of take a look, perhaps a peek back at last year's TCU to see what you might expect. When you look at Baylor's schedule, just a quirk in the schedule. Don't send any mean letters to the folks up at the Big 12, but Kansas, TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma, West Virginia. 5, both matches will take place in Austin this year under this new format. Of course, the home team won each time last year.
For sure, home court advantage is a real thing. So drawing that Austin first 2 matches for this season will be more difficult for Baylor.
TCU gets the touch, and time for the Horned Frogs to get a run going after these 2 teams traded points in the early portion of this set. A little conversation between Katie Clark and Michaela Myers. And Myers was a transfer back in January. Actually played club with Nichols and Clark of TCU. Here is Clark. And an error will now put Baylor in line for set point for a second straight set.
Got to see Vandermark swing on the outside for that one. We talked about the benefits of being a lefty on that right side. One thing to note is how much further out Callie Williams has to set the ball to get it to a left-handed hitter when she's swinging and serve-receive on the outside.
Serve from Bowden. From the back row, it's Adams. Vandermark almost flat-footed on that return.
Great read by Chanel Brandschreiber.
And it'll be Presley into the block. Mignong again will add another to her total. But Baylor still finds space. And that left arm's not just for kills, it's good at celebrations as well. Baylor will take the second set, 25-19. 2 sets down, perhaps just one more to go. Can the Bears make it a short night in their home opener? Looking for another win here in Waco. Aaron Rodgers with a little bit of a fire lit under him after the draft this past April. Cheerleaders still a part of the match day environment.
Yelling extra loud behind those masks and staying 6 feet apart. So we are grateful that they're doing something so different than what they're used to and showing up to support these 2 teams.
My understanding is they can either cheer with the mask on or they can cheer into their elbow. Either way, cheer responsibly. 2 sets in the books. Baylor hoping to make it a short night, especially to give their coaches a little extra time to get ready for tomorrow, because it'll be deja vu all fall in the Big 12, whether it be a Saturday game 2 or sometimes you start earlier in the week on a Thursday with a Friday turnaround. It's going to be Mackenzie Nichols to get us started. Baylor has not run away with either of the first 2 sets. Can this be the frame that the Horned Frogs capture while their service quickly put to an end? It's Baylor with the first point. Again, Marika Vandermark, to her credit, as a mature young woman who's come overseas to play her college ball, she gave this coaching staff credit for choosing to redshirt her freshman year. A lot of players with their competitive nature would not be able to see the value in that, but that really allowed her to learn the game over here. And she has capitalized. Baylor capitalizes on that last point, now up 2-0.
Vandermark's 9th kill, and you said it, she's grown so much as a player during her time here. When she came in as a freshman, I remember her saying she wanted to play for the Dutch national team. And with the success she's had, there's no way she's not on their radar.
Yeah, she's hoping whenever those next Olympics are to be there. Horned Frogs looking for that first point.
Point TCU.
And back within 1 here in what is officially a must-win set number 3.
Serving for TCU,
Georgiana's the freshman will rotate on. Again, she was a spring enrollee, which often means that you get the benefit of extra time with your new teammates. Obviously different this past spring. Vandermark into the block, stays with the Horned Frogs. Mignon. A dig from Williams. And when you're 6'5", you can afford to be off balance.
Just reach back a little bit.
Presley. Vandermark, as well as a Harrison, makes it a little easier to forget about the National Player of the Year out there on the floor for Baylor. Mignon goes right into her, but also into the pin. So Baylor takes 3 of the first 4 here in the potential closeout set number 3.
Oh, look at that swing again by Mignon. Her first error as we're already in the 3rd set tonight. So playing very clean and not used to seeing mistakes like that from her.
Serve from Van Slate, off the mark. TCU back within 1. Again, TCU will head home to take on Texas Tech next weekend before their next road trip out to West Virginia. Horned Frogs last year picked up wins against both the Red Raiders as well as the Mountaineers. Jayhawks as well for their 4 victories in conference play.
Point for the Bears. Serving for Presley.
And Presley back to serve. And just a little miscommunication. How much of that, again, is just TCU playing its first match of the fall?
I think you're always going to have errors like that, right, Lincoln? But there's something to be said that there might be a confusion being the first match, that you don't know who's going to get that.
This is 2 matches with the Longhorns. We're off to a 3-0 start. Jared Elliott's women back in action tonight as well. Just like TCU, Longhorns moving over to their basketball arena, the Irwin Center. Gregory Gymnasium, such a home court advantage otherwise.
For sure. I think for TCU, regardless that they were moving either way, I think from my time playing, TCU and UT were the 2 teams that had the biggest home court advantage because people are just on top of you, right? Even if it's not as many people, it just feels so loud, such high energy, and like you're the underdog.
Yeah, you feel like you have about 40 line judges at TCU.
For sure.
Into the block. Lauren Harrison able to put it away. So many players have stepped right in for Baylor this year.
I'll say it now. We talked about Jill Kramer being Marika Vandermark's biggest fan. I might have to put myself down as Lauren Harrison's biggest fan. Coming in and affecting this Baylor offense right away in only her third match with the team.
Point TCU.
Again, the transfer from North Carolina out of the ACC.
Serving for TCU number 12, Julia Adams.
There were a couple of conferences that greenlit football, but the moment that the NCAA moved its championship to the spring, conferences like the American and Conference USA decided they would not compete in the fall, focusing entirely on the spring. But then you have conferences like the Big 12 that decided we're going to go ahead and at least play our conference schedule here in the fall. So your Big 12s of the world have not had conference tournaments for that automatic qualifier. That has pretty much always gone to your regular season champion. Last year, a tie between Baylor and Texas, tiebreaker for Texas. So really nothing new, at least for this sport in the Big 12. Every team playing each other twice. There's the serve from Williams.
Big swing by Katie Clark.
Yeah, Bramschreiber able to get underneath that one to deny her the kill. This time off the heels of Clark.
One for the Bears.
She's not technically in that starting rotation initially, but you know she'll be on the floor sooner rather than later. Talking about Katie Clark. You could say the same for Bramschreiber, as her head coach Ryan McGuire looks on. Not all that lumber was for axes. Also built his daughter a tree house and a barn for the horse.
That must have been when I saw him at Home Depot.
Point TCU. Serving for TCU number 34, Sarah
Your
Swanson.
libero Dennison will step off. Sarah Swanson with the serve now. Again, she'll be one of these seniors who have an interesting decision to make after this year. You pursue that graduate degree and get to play with some of your best friends for another fall. Right hand right into the block. Able to tool it is Swanson.
You talk about being able to pursue graduate degrees and looking at this next year of basically eligibility that so many of these kids weren't expecting, weren't planning for. So definitely a change in their life plan, but for some of them, it is going to be a really cool opportunity that they can maybe stay for grad school or get that extra major that they were thinking about ahead of time.
Lauren Harrison able to put that one away. Still looking for a sergeant at arms for her fan club. As on to serve Campbell Bowden.
Yeah, such a great tag team. You know, you're bummed because Lauren Harrison just rotates out, but oh wait, National Player of the Year right there with 13 kills already.
Right down the middle, sent back over from Myers. Here is Presley. And even when you're able to get under her swing, getting that ball back over the net, not a given.
Y'all see a freshman my 5th year. I remember being on the opposite side of some of those swings. And even as a freshman, it was like, Coach, I promise I was lined up. I just couldn't do anything about it.
And a cross-court shot from Myers. Baylor was ready. That ball just finds space on the back row. The kill for Presley.
Very smart, very crafty. Seeing Yasiana Presley hit the ball straight down, but then seeing her hit smart shots just shows the development she's had as a player, even since last year.
Nobody perhaps had a better look down that line than Jill Kramer. She has just challenged her first call of the 2020 campaign. And if nothing else, it's going to allow her to talk to her Horned Frogs in a must-win set number 3. In a moment, so this is as simple as it comes, in or out. Initial call was in. We might want another couple looks at that, but burden of proof would be to overturn that call. There's Jason Williams in his program. There was a leap taken last year.
Absolutely. I think I tell everyone this. Got a chance to travel with the team to Pittsburgh for the Final Four last year. Watch some of those first-team All-Americans play live for that Final Four and just beaming with pride every moment because of how far this program has come.
And back on the board, courtesy of Katie Clark. Her 3rd year out of Arlington High School. You know, TCU in just about every sport likes to draw a circle around the Metroplex area and keep as much talent in their backyard as they can.
Yeah, looking at their roster, 13 of their players are from Texas. And you'll see that a lot in Baylor. They've started recruiting more widespread lately, but there's so much talent in this Texas, Dallas, Houston, Austin area for volleyball that you really don't have to go outside of it to find some of the most elite athletes in the country.
One of the more recent Baylor recruits from the Arlington area is a young woman whose dad worked in Arlington for a certain baseball team.
Bannister, maybe? Alex is wonderful. Miss her.
A block up front. Mignon. No ma'am is getting underneath it, Williams. And Vandermark puts it away down the line.
So much intensity. We got a chance to catch up with Marika Vandermark earlier this week, and something the Baylor fans have come to expect from her is she's so excited, and she's known for doing these.
I think you're going to see a lot of parity in this league, especially after we saw so many splits last weekend. Only Texas had a sweep. Each of the other three matchups went 1-1.
And we've talked to coaches in the past and in this conference and heard them say before, the beauty of the Big 12 is anyone can win on any given night. You just usually aren't forced to do that 2 nights in a row. So I think you're right, Lincoln. I think we're going to see a lot of splits and not as many just outright champions.
Kara McGee will slam that one home. Led Baylor in blocks a year ago. Very talented household over there with McGee kids. Her brother Luke, basketball player for Texas A&M, has a very talented younger sister as well in the club ranks. Let's see if the Horned Frogs can pull back within 7. Unable to recover. And Baylor again trying to make it a quick night. We mentioned everything Chanel Bramschreiber does to keep them in system. As we take another look here at the point from Baylor. Serve now, back to live action from Bramschreiber, and an ace for the libero. The only thing that undermines her ability to keep her teams poised and in system is she's hilarious.
Man, if that's the worst thing we can say about her, she's doing okay.
It is easy for her to get her teammates to crack up. And just trying to tap that one home is McGee. TCU able to keep the point going. And moments later, Kara McGee. Again, she is filling the shoes of that former 2-time All-American in the middle.
We talk about Shelly Stafford now playing professionally in Poland, extremely successful over there, won MVP in a tournament pretty recently. Gia Milana also playing professionally, so kind of just speaks to that team and some of the players that graduated from that Final Four program.
If you ever find a volleyball with a Band-Aid on it, it probably met the right hand of Gia.
For sure.
Nobody packed a better punch than that transfer from Maryland last year.
Hit such a heavy ball. And I think when she came to Baylor, what was fun to watch is she'd come off being injured, having a shoulder injury for, I believe it was her sophomore season. And just seeing her get healthier and hitting the ball so heavy, even being injured, and then transitioning out of that.
You just saw KJ Johnson come on for her debut tonight, the sophomore. Bramschreiber continues her serve. TCU needs to be able to put something together here. Just able to keep that inside the antenna. They're going to go to, again, Vandermark, and why not? Marika Vandermark not disappointing here in her home debut in 2020. Baylor within 5 of a sweep against TCU.
Baylor looking good right now offensively with 3 players with over 10 kills. Presley 15, Vandermark 12, and then Lauren Harrison with 10. And several players hitting over 400. So super efficient offense going on here in the Farrell Center tonight. Woo.
21-7 Baylor. I think both these coaching staffs, regardless of the outcome, will appreciate the 5 o'clock start time we had here in the Central Time Zone. It's going to allow them to maybe get some sleep tonight before tomorrow's 5 o'clock start over on Big 12 Now.
Lincoln, you've seen it. I'm usually over here eating snacks the whole game, and I haven't eaten one yet. So
Mignon is hoping to force everybody to stick around a little longer. It's going to require a run from the Horned Frogs after they dropped identical sets 25-19. 25-19. See, second look at A.J. Cooley out there on the floor for Baylor here tonight from the Houston area, former Mississippi State Bulldog. Johnson, K.J. Johnson. Oh, the pride of Pearland, Texas, outside of Houston.
a lot of energy from the Baylor bench after that one. We talked about it before, but a player we're not used to seeing on the bench, All-American Hannah, formerly Locken, now Sedgwick, out with an injury. Got an opportunity to write an article just about her story in the Champions Tribune, which Baylor produces, kind of just giving student athletes a chance to tell the story about their student athlete experience, and just an awesome story, just talking about their trip to the Final Four, meeting her husband, and just how big of a piece of that her faith was every step of the way. So love watching her play. Hope she gets back out on the court soon.
Again, no room for error here for TCU as Baylor needs just 3 more points. That will help. Also enjoyed a feature earlier this year on Big 12 Now that our Brooke Bednars had with the, at the time, soon-to-be newlyweds, the Baylor football player, kicker Jay Sedgwick, and the now bride, and Hannah Sedgwick, talking about how he proposed after a match. So Bears are within 2. K.J. Johnson will have the serve.
Baylor number 4, K.J. Johnson.
Well, this is going to be a TCU team that's going to be a lot of fun to follow this fall. But again, this is kind of what Baylor went through against Kansas last weekend. There's going to be some growing pains, especially for TCU, who, remember, these players with this new coaching staff, 2 new assistants underneath Coach Kramer, didn't get time with him until August. And so finally getting to see another team, let alone the number 2 team in the country. Expect even some adjustments to be made before tomorrow's matchup. Again, we will have that live here on Big 12 Now. Into the block, that time goes Adams. They'll dial her up again.
Chanel Bram-Schreiber really ready to read that one back to back.
And the punctuation courtesy of Harrison. It is set point in set number 3, and with 2 sets already in their back pocket, that means it is match point for Baylor. Close to 700 fans able to make their way into the Farrell Center under the new guidelines. A service error will prolong things here before perhaps some of these fans can migrate over to the soccer pitch next door.
You mentioned it, Coach Jobson over with Baylor Soccer. Their SPA, Cody Hall, does a great job leading that program and helping them.
It is still match point. Harrison goes with the kinder, gentler approach. Not the same can be said there for Adams, swinging for the point. Gets the fingertips, gets the match. Lauren Harrison in her home debut in Waco. Looks good in the Baylor green. And Baylor starts 1-0 at home after going undefeated last year here at the Farrell Center. 3 straight sets for the Baylor Bears, including this one from the newcomer.
Lauren Harrison finishing off a great face-off between TCU and Baylor here tonight.
Stay with us. We'll take a look back at these 3 sets. We're already excited for potential tomorrow as well. Baylor now 2-1 to start off Big 12 competition.